Welcome to Fan for Racing Radio. I am Fan for Racing Sharon, and joining me is Jay Huseman. Welcome to the show, Jay.
Thank you. I know we were talking offline. They're really excited, but we got to wait till we get to a certain part of it. Some special things happening here. These 3 races coming up, and then the next 5 that we obviously want to talk about. But it's got to go through Michigan first.
Absolutely. We're here to do that Michigan preview for the NASCAR Cup Series. And I will just say this about that, and that is that the FireKeepers Casino 400 at Michigan International Speedway on that 2-mile asphalt paved oval will be Sunday, June the 8th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Now you'll find pre-race coverage starting at 1:30 over on Amazon Prime, as well as MRN and SiriusXM NASCAR Channel 90. Now, they'll race a distance of 400 miles over 200 laps. Stage 1 ends on lap 45. Stage 2 is going to end on lap 120. And then 80 laps later will be the end of stage 3 on the final lap, lap 200. Now, we are going to have Cup Series practice and Busch Light pole qualifying on Saturday, June the 7th on Amazon Prime, MRN, and SiriusXM Radio starting at 9:30 a.m. It's going to be on Amazon Prime. And then Sunday, June 8th, of course, is the FireKeepers Casino 400 again at 2 p.m. And Jay, I know you've been looking at entry list.
You know, and this was an odd one, again, being that the Truck Series were there as well as the ARCA Menard Series. The Cup Series is just the 36 chartered teams as they stand right now. There are no open teams registered for this event. I understand Michigan a little further away from the hub of Charlotte area, so I guess cost. I don't know. But, yeah, there's no open teams entered this weekend, so it's just your 36 chartered teams.
Wow, that is rather interesting. So everybody's going to make it in. Nobody's going home.
Absolutely.
Okay, and I know we've got some storylines and highlights to cover here as well.
Well, and the Michigan storyline goes back a long ways. This weekend marks the 108th running of a NASCAR Cup Series race at Michigan International Speedway, 1969 to 2025. Not quite from the beginning, but a long ways back. Before me.
Okay, now 9 different Cup Series drivers have won so far in 2025. 4 of the last 5 races, though, were won by drivers getting their very first win of the season. So it might be cool to see somebody else get that first win of the season.
I do think that is a possibility this weekend, but there's some tough competition. And it starts with from the pole, as Chase Briscoe has won the pole for the last 2 Cup races. The last driver to win 3 straight poles was Kyle Larson. He did it last spring.
Wow. Also, did you know that Nashville was only the 2nd race this year that 2311 Racing had multiple cars finish in the top 10? The team had only 1 top 10 in the prior 5 races of 2025 combined. So that's been more the exception than the rule for that team.
I knew they had been struggling, but when you get the stats like that, that really breaks it down and identifies it. So yeah, that's hopefully they're turning their season around. Now, one team turning their season around has been Legacy Motor Club. Their 3 top 5s in 2025 are more than the last 2 seasons combined. Their 7 top 10s are more than all of 2024, where they only had 6.
Yeah, I've been really happy with Legacy Motor Club and the progress that they're making this season. Now, 12 races remain in the regular season, so we're past the halfway mark, and now the countdown begins for the playoffs. So 4 of the 12 are on road courses, and 2 are on drafting tracks. 2 are on short tracks, and the other 4 include the unique tracks: Michigan, Pocono, Indianapolis, and Dover. So should be an interesting 12 races coming up here in the Cup Series.
I feel bad for those four. They're oddballs. They don't even get a category.
Well, I was trying to be nice. I called them unique.
Yeah, you did a good job. Sorry. Hendrick Motorsports, 1,707 laps led this season, are the most for any team through 14 races since 2016. Joe Gibbs did it. Joe Gibbs Racing did it back in 1982. HMS has been having a very strong season.
They have indeed. Now, Alex Bowman finished 27th or worse, though, in 6 of his last 8 races this season. He's gone from 5th in the playoff point standings at plus 75 to he's now 14th, and he's plus 45. So it's not been good for Alex Bowman in these last 6 of 8 races, but I see him turning that around sometime within these next 12.
Well, Michigan is a good place for him. I knew he had been sliding. I didn't realize he was down to 14th now. We had been watching when he was right around the 10th spot that he was still hanging in the top 10, but is not any longer. And again, you don't realize it until you get the actual statistics there of how bad his stretch has been for him. Now, on a good side, though, all 3 Team Penske drivers, plus the Wood Brothers number 21 car, have won in 2025. Their first win in 2024 was race number 15. So quite the turnaround. Scary, too, because they've still been winning championships despite the slow start, and they're off to a strong start this year.
Yes, they are. Okay, now 2025 is the 6th season with all 3 Team Penske cars winning a race. Now, 14 races is the 3rd quickest that they've ever accomplished it. So you're right. That could be good news or maybe disappointing news down the road. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out.
We talked about Legacy Motor Club. Their driver, Eric Jones, averaged running position at Nashville was a 9.46. That was his best since Texas in September of 2023. So that shows you where Legacy Motor Club is building.
Yeah, I was really excited for Eric Jones last week. All right now, and I was excited for this guy too. Ryan Blaney failed to win in the first 11 races in which he led 100 plus laps, but now won 4 of the last 5 after leading at least 100.
Well, we knew he would eventually start getting the finishes he deserved and was earning throughout the race, but you talked about that of the stage points he was building kept him in the playoff hunt for sure. However, up top, it's William Byron. His 547 points earned through 14 races in 2025 are the most at this point in the season by a driver in this next-gen era, and that ranges from 2022 to now 2025.
And also, William Byron's 48-point lead over second in the regular season point standings is the second largest lead of the year behind his 49-point advantage after Darlington. So I know he wants to put some space in between him and second.
Well, in that second place is Kyle Larson. They had been swapping back and forth, but we know Larson had a little bit of a rough go following Charlotte. So Byron able to stretch that point lead out. Now, when we look at the Hendrick Motorsports, though, as a whole, they're the only team with at least one car finishing in the top 5 in all 14 races in 2025. No other team had at least one car finish in the top 10 in all 14 races this year. Again, they're having a very strong year. I know not all the teams have that capability, but HMS taking advantage of it.
Yes, indeed. You got to wonder, though, how long it will last, and will they continue to carry that momentum into the playoffs? Now, Joe Gibbs Racing drivers won 5 of the last 7 stages at Michigan, but is winless there in the last 14 races. That is astounding.
And we talked about that from the trucks. Toyota, not typically a Michigan pairing when it comes to that, but if somebody can do it, it is Joe Gibbs Racing. And their last won at Michigan in August of 2015. Now, the team won 96 times on 25 different tracks since they're winning at Michigan. They just can't seem to get it done in Ford's backyard, if you will.
Well, you know who I would bet on if I were a betting girl? Christopher Bell, actually.
Oh, from Toyota, I got you. I follow
Yeah,
you.
he's been doing that this year, where Toyota has not won. He has been winning.
That's true.
Okay, now the last 4 Cup races at Michigan have been won by 4 different drivers. Tyler Reddick won there last year. The year before that, in 23, it was Chris Buescher. And then Kevin Harvick won in 2022 and Ryan Blaney in 2021. So who will be the 5th different driver to win this year? Or will there be a repeat?
You know, of those, I'm not sure if I see the repeats. Maybe Blaney, just from what we've seen so far this season, but who knows? This was where Chris Buescher came out of nowhere and started ripping them up in 2023, so could happen again. Now, 7 of the 41 different drivers to win a Cup race at Michigan are active this weekend. It's led by Joey Logano and Kyle Larson with 3 wins each. And I think if you're going to look at Chevy, you're looking at the man right there.
Mr. Larson. Okay, now only 1 of the last 12 Michigan Cup races were won by a driver getting his first win of the season. Only 1 of 12. So that does not bode well.
No, and I see that continuing as, again, we got too many hot drivers right now in the Cup Series.
The only exception that I can think of is a Michigan native.
I would love to see it. Yeah, now, what's that?
Carson Hocevar.
Oh, you went with first career win. This says first win of the season. I was thinking Brad Keselowski.
Oh, Brad Keselowski, another Michigan driver. Both of those are good choices.
Carson Hocevar certainly would be of a double of first of his career and first of the season. So that would be interesting, no doubt.
Something to think about.
Well, going with the Brad Keselowski side, maybe that's why he was on my mind. We've had 8 drivers that snapped a winless streak of at least 41 races at Michigan. So Brad would fall under that category.
Falls into that category, and he is a Michigan native. Now, Ford has won 9 of the last 10 races at Michigan. So I thought this was a Ford track. We'll watch those Fords this weekend at Michigan. And if you're on the Chevy or Toyota camp, you got to hope that you can break through and snap that streak.
Well, and as I said, if it's going to be Chevrolet, this is the man. Kyle Larson won the last 3 races at Michigan that were won by Chevrolet drivers. So he has been the Chevrolet representative.
He has snapped that streak before. Now, Toyota has won both poles at Michigan in the next-gen car. So that's kind of interesting, too. They're winning the pole, but not closing out the race.
As well as the stages. Again, it's not that they're running bad. It's just that not getting the victory there as Ford comes along and snakes it from them. Now, Michigan, this does not go well for talking about Carson Hocevar. Michigan has produced only 2 first-time Cup winners in 107 races. Dale Jarrett in August of 1991 and Kyle Larson in 2016. So can Carson Hocevar be that 3rd? That would be interesting. I like that.
I think he is up to the task. Okay, now Kyle Larson's 3 wins at Michigan are tied for his most at any Cup Series track. Yet he has not won there since August of 2017. So Kyle Larson needs a bit of good news. Maybe this will be it.
And here's the thing about Michigan. The last 2 Michigan races have each had a track record 16 different leaders. So I love that. I love that.
Me too. Okay, now no Michigan-born driver has ever won at Michigan. That's not good. Okay, Brad Keselowski finished 2nd 3 times. 3 full-time Cup drivers call Michigan their home state. It includes, I forgot about Eric Jones. Eric Jones would be a nice win too. Brad Keselowski, Eric Jones, and Carson Hocevar. I'm pulling for those Michigan drivers to win this week.
You know, I'm from Minnesota, but I would agree. I'm going to pull for those 3 Michigan drivers as well. Any one of them would be an amazing, great story.
It would be.
For that.
Especially the fact that no Michigan-born driver has ever won at Michigan. I want that streak to be broken.
There you go. Now, qualifying was canceled at Michigan in 2024. Christopher Bell, you mentioned him of possibly being the Toyota driver. His pole speed there in 2023 was the fastest pole speed of the season at 193.382 miles per hour.
This is the first Michigan race held in June since 2019. The last 7 races were held in August at Michigan.
And I don't remember, I told you back in 2008 or so when I went, because it used to be Father's Day weekend. That was when the June race at Michigan was Father's Day weekend. So I don't remember if that's when we went or not, but yeah, so not quite lining up with Father's Day, but back in that neighborhood. Now, total lead changes for the year is at 372 this season, and that's the 4th most through the first 14 races of a season in the modern era, and that runs from 1972 to 2025. The record is 439, and that was set back in 2011.
All right, so they could approach that. There have been 10 different pole winners so far this season. That is tied for second most in the modern era. Again, that's 1972 to the current year. The record is 11 that was set in 1992, Jay.
You know, and you mentioned it before that you feel the next-gen car is kind of hitting its prime right now. And I think we're starting to see that because they're no longer identifying it as next-gen stats, which there are some, but they're starting to tie into the overall modern era ranging from 1972 on.
That's a good observation, Jay.
Now, 6 of the 52 different Cup pole winners are active this weekend at Michigan. They're led by Joey Logano, who's got 4 of them.
And 7 drivers have won consecutive poles at Michigan in the NASCAR Cup Series. Joey Logano is the only active driver to accomplish that feat.
Well, we've been talking about our wants. If you're looking at maybe the odds-on favorite to represent Ford at Michigan, like him or not, you kind of got to lead towards Joey Logano and Team Penske.
There you go.
Now, currently, Kyle Busch is 16th on the playoff cut line, which is just 2 points up on Ryan Preece in the 17th spot, the first spot outside the postseason cut line. We're going to talk more about this because this could get really, really nasty.
It's going to be interesting. There is no doubt about it. Now, the first 5 drivers below that playoff cut line are within 13 points of Kyle Busch, who is currently in 16th, the final playoff transfer spot. So the first 5 drivers below have 13 points between them. It's going to be a battle.
It is, and speaking of battles, there may be a separate one-on-one one as Ricky Stenhouse Jr. dropped from 13th to 18th in the point standings after a last place finish following his incident with Carson Hocevar at Nashville. So we want Hocevar to win in Michigan. Stenhouse might have something to say about that.
Yes, that is a very, very good point. But I don't know. I saw some footage where they kind of broke it down. And it's kind of interesting. They're saying he tried several times to pass, and Ricky, and you had brought that up too during Hot Topics last week, if I recall.
You know, it was, but that was based off his crew chief, Luke Lambert. And I was like, all right, I'm sure Lambert has a little bit of a biased opinion, but they said it had been about 3 laps. Yes. And I think the morning drive kind of pointed it out too of, Stenhouse played a role. Yes, he got hit in the bumper from behind, but at that point in the race, you know, Dale Jr., and not to go all the way back into Hot Topics, but Dale Jr. said it too of, you know, Carson could have cut him a break. Well, Stenhouse could have cut a break too and said, hey, you're a little faster than me right now. There's 200 more laps to go. I'll stuck in line behind you. To me, it's a racing incident. It really was. But Hocevar has established his reputation, exactly. So he kind of gets the nod towards, hey, it's your fault.
Yes, I would agree with you there. And it's almost like the Chastain effect.
The Chastain effect.
You like that, huh?
That's a good one, yeah.
Okay. Now, a total of 22 of 107, that's 20.6%, of the Cup Series races at Michigan International Speedway have been won from the pole or the first starting position. The most recent win from the pole at Michigan was in 2019 when Joey Logano won. But 20% winning from the pole or that first starting position, that's kind of interesting.
It is, but it's still obviously important. And one of those of looking at Toyota, Denny Hamlin leads all active drivers in runner-up finishes as he's tied with Brad Keselowski and Chase Elliott, which have 3 each. And then he's got top 5s at 12 and top 10s at 19 there at Michigan. So not the position you want to be in is Mr. Second Place. I know that goes to Sheldon Creed in the Xfinity Series, but I'm sure they're looking to finish that one off.
Yes, indeed. We're almost there, Jay, to talk about something that we're really excited about. Now, the fewest laps led by a race winner in the NASCAR Cup Series race at Michigan is 1 lap that was led by Mark Martin back in 2009. I saw a video of that on social media recently. Somebody was pointing that out. It's kind of cool.
It is. And I go back to, and I'm trying to think when I talked about when we went to that race, if that was the race where Mark Martin in the Xfinity Series pulled off a lap early. I don't remember if that was at Michigan, where he thought the race was over and he pulled into the pit lane, coming to the white flag. I think that might have been at Michigan, but.
Oh, yeah. Okay, now, before we get into this exciting next topic, I think what we want to do is go back to our other notes and kind of reiterate some of the points that we've already pointed out. Because from Nashville to Michigan, you know that playoff pressure is building up to full speed, Jay.
It is, and Team Penske, as I mentioned, could be dangerous because with Ryan Blaney's victory last weekend at Nashville, Team Penske became the first team to land all drivers, and that includes their partner team of the Wood Brothers Racing, into the 2025 NASCAR Cup Series playoffs.
But it's Hendrick Motorsports that remains on top the championship standings heading into Sunday's race at Michigan, and one of the former series champs in the 4-driver Hendrick lineup is hoping to finally secure his place in the upcoming playoffs with a victory. And I believe they might be referring to.
That would be most popular driver, Chase Elliott. And he is the 2020 NASCAR Cup Series champion as well. He's had a tremendously good start to his career on the 2-mile Michigan high banks, scoring runner-up finishes in the first 3 races he ran there, ranging from 2016 to 18. And surprisingly, considering that start, driver the number 9 Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet has never won at the track. However, he finds himself primed for the trophy hoist this weekend.
Okay, now Elliott is the highest ranked driver without a victory this season, 5th in the championship standings, and with top 10 finishes in half of the races, 7. At Michigan International Speedway, though, he earned an amazing 10 top 10 finishes in his first 11 starts, but he hasn't had any in 3 races afterwards. His worst showing was 36th in 2023 as a result of being collected in a crash, only 34 laps into the race. So the turnaround time for Chase Elliott.
Well, and we've seen him kind of get his hands around this next-gen car. I know especially when it comes to the road courses, it seems like he kind of lost some of that with the next-gen car. I think we're seeing him start to get his hand or foot or whatever it is around it.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, if you mention Michigan to Elliott and his face lights up, it's absolutely a track where he feels legitimately optimistic to score that first victory of 2025. He is the only driver to finish among the top 20 in all 14 races this season and has the 3rd best average finish at 11.5 in the series.
Okay, so optimism there for Chase Elliott. But let's talk about his teammate, the driver of the number 24 Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet. William Byron is on top of his championship standings. Again, he extended his lead over his teammate, Kyle Larson, by 48 points. Now, Hendrick Motorsports is the only team to have at least one of their 4 drivers finish in the top 5 in all 14 races so far this season. So that's just talks to that HMS dominance.
And when we look at Michigan, I think we highlighted this already, but Larson is tied with Team Penske's Joey Logano for the most wins at Michigan with 3 among active drivers. However, Larson's last was all the way back in 2017.
Okay, well, let's talk about the last 4 Michigan races have been won by 4 different drivers. 3 of them drove Fords: Chris Buescher, Kevin Harvick, and Ryan Blaney. The exception is the defending race winner, 2311 Racing's Tyler Reddick, who won in a Toyota. He too is looking for his first victory of the season after claiming the 24 regular season title.
Well, and we were talking about 2311 making a turnaround, turning that corner. So maybe it will be Tyler Reddick there for Toyota. Now, to that point, though, the intensity is certainly picking up where the regular season is more than halfway over. We mentioned that. We're on the downhill slide now. Richard Childress Racing's Kyle Busch, the 2011 Michigan winner, is one that sits on the hot spot, the playoff cut line in 16th, with 5 drivers within 13 points of him heading into this weekend.
Yes, Kyle Larson is itching to get that victory to kind of propel him into the playoffs and kind of save him from those 5 drivers that are on his heels. Now, this is an interesting note as well, and we've talked about this. I still can't get over it. No Michigan native has ever won at that home track. RFK Racing owner-driver Brad Keselowski has 3 runner-up finishes. Legacy Motor Club, Eric Jones, he earned his 2nd top 10 of the season last week and has claimed top 10 finishes at Michigan in 2 of the last 3 races. But there's another Michigan native to talk about here.
Yeah, it's Spire Motorsports, Carson Hostvar. He's coming off his 2nd runner-up finish of the year, which tied a career best. He led 3 laps and finished 10th in his Michigan NASCAR Cup Series debut last year. So certainly has a shot at it. I would love to see it. Like I said, any of the Michigan natives.
And the reason all of this is so important, Jay, is because the top 32 drivers in the standings have qualified for the very first inaugural in-season challenge program with the next 3 races: Michigan, Mexico City, and Pocono. Those races will all be on Prime Video, and they will seed the brackets for the first to 5 races in the in-season challenge. It starts June 28th at Atlanta's newly renamed Echo Park Speedway. So we're going to talk more in depth about that in-season challenge. But before we do that, Jay's got a few more details for you.
Yeah, one thing just to point out, practice will be followed by Busch Light Pole, and I believe that will be on Amazon Prime. And real quick, before we try and go into, Sharon and I have been talking about it, the in-season challenge bracket, talking about the points, and this wasn't a Larry McNugget, it actually came from Dave Moody, or whoever is in his ear giving him statistics, but talking about Kyle Busch being on the cut line in 15th, because Josh Berry below the cut line and his win moves him up. So he is technically the 16th. He's at 291, which is the cut line, if you will. Go up as high as Austin Cindric, or it'd be Alex Bowman at 334. Let's see, Chris Buescher, Kyle Busch, Ryan Preece, Carson Hostvar, Ricky Stenhouse, AJ Allmendinger, and then Michael McDowell. In and around the cut line, a little above and a little below, there are 9 drivers within 25 points. And I know we still got 12 races to go, but that's right around that cut line. Now, another victory from somebody below, and that shifts all that. But right now, there's 9 drivers fighting for about 6 spots, and they're all within 25 points of one another.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. That is pretty amazing. And that means the intensity as we wind down from 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, and so on, that intensity is going to get wild. Okay, now we are going to cover the in-season challenge because we want everybody to kind of understand what's going on. So the top 32 drivers and driver points following Nashville last week are eligible. So the drivers that are not going to be in that and did not qualify include Shane Van Gisbergen, Cole Custer, Riley Herbst, and Cody Ware. All failed to qualify among the full-time drivers. So they will not be part of the in-season challenge.
Yeah, that's a bummer. I know it was a close one. We were talking about that. Brad Keselowski getting ahead of, at the time, Riley Herbst, and then holding off over Shane Van Gisbergen for that final spot. But now with these next three races, let's start there. The next three races, the top 32 drivers are determined by their best finish in these final three races of the season on Prime. Sharon mentioned them: Michigan, Mexico City, and Pocono. So that will set up the seeding of these 32 top teams. And I guess go over the round of five before we get into trying to explain. I hope fans have some understanding of the NCAA bracket because that's what it's based off of.
Well,
a little bit different for NASCAR, but yeah.
We'll get to that in a minute, but that seeding is based on the best driver finishing positions over those three races that you mentioned. Tiebreakers are decided by the second best finish and then the third best finish among those races if needed. The final tiebreaker is the point standings after Pocono. So just to give you an idea of how they're going to establish that reseeding, your best finish, if there's a tie, then it's going to be the second best finish. If there's still a tie, the third best finish. And if there's still a tie, it's going to be the point standings after Pocono.
Again, this may sound complicated, but if you get a chance to dive into it, it's hopefully not too much, and we'll try and break it down a little bit more. Okay, the first five races for the season is Atlanta, with drivers competing in a bracket-style tournament until the two drivers face off in the finale at Indianapolis, with the best finishing driver winning $1 million.
Now I want to go in and show you the bracket. Everybody, we're going to show everybody the bracket so that you can see how this looks physically on the bracket. So, and then Jay and I will kind of cover what we just covered within that graphic that we're going to show you so that it all will start to formulate and make sense to everybody. So let's start with that, Jay.
As I say, I know we had it set up earlier. Make it work again, Sharon.
Make it work again. Okay, I'm going to share my screen with you. Jay and I are probably going to disappear, and you're just going to see the bracket when I pull this up. But we will explain, and watch my cursor will guide you on what part of the graphic we're explaining. So let's see if we can make this happen.
There we go.
This is the top part that we've kind of already explained to everybody, but now you can see it. It's the top 32 drivers are determined by their best finish in the final three races of the season on Prime: the Michigan race, Mexico City, and Pocono Raceway. And we gave you how that's going to be broken out with their best finish. If there's a tie, they'll go to their second best finish. If there's still a tie, they'll look at the third best finish in those races. But if there's still a tie after all of that, it will be determined on the point standings at Pocono Raceway will be the tiebreaker. And then, Jay, you want to go over this next part?
Yeah, that's where I was reading from. The five races, the 32 drivers will be pitted in a bracket format, with the higher finishing driver in each round race of the round advancing. There'll be 4 rounds. Half of the drivers are eliminated after each race, and until only 2 drivers remain for that final race. So the challenge round number 1, be at Echo Park Speedway and Atlanta Motor Speedway, we'll start with the 32, and it's heads up. Whichever driver you're matched against, a winner, best finisher out of those 2. Doesn't matter how anybody else does or where you finish. Just if you beat the driver you're paired with, advances into the next round. That'll break it down to 16. and that'll be at the Chicago Street Race. I think Sharon's got the cursor there. So from there, that'll break it down to 8 at Sonoma Raceway. Then we'll be down to the challenge round number 4. That'll be at Dover with 4 drivers. Again, it's not like the Cup Series Championship. You're not competing against all 4. It is just the driver you are heads up with, one-on-one each and every week. Then
and this challenge does not affect the regular season set up for the playoffs. It has
absolutely not. You're right. Absolutely not. Good point. And then are you on? There we go. On the champions round of Indianapolis, again, that'll be down to 2 drivers just going one-on-one for $1 million. So again, you could finish 35th and 36th, but as long as you're the 35th and your opponent for that week, that round that you're matched up with is the 36th place, you still advance. And as Sharon pointed out, this has points and everything else for the regular season points and NASCAR championship, totally separate. They'll keep adding their points and everything there. This is just a 5-race in-season tournament. Now, Sharon,
similar
if you want
to the Dash for Cash or the triple truck challenge.
Well, yes and no.
Yes and no. In that it's a standalone challenge.
Okay, right, and that's true. We've seen that of an in-season portion in the other 2 series, the Triple Truck Challenge and the Truck Series, and the Dash for Cash. Sharon mentioned. This one is very unique. This one is whoever you're paired up with, and if you want to start in the top left, yep, there we go. So I know on the screen here it's going to be tough to see, but those numbers are 1 and 32. Once they've determined that seeding, going into Echo Park Speedway at Atlanta, 1 and 32 will be heads up. And I'm just going to throw some names out there so you can understand.
Who's the number 1 seed right now? That would be William Byron.
Going by the points, it would be William Byron, yes, if we want to use that.
Keselowski in 32.
There you go. So we'll just use that. William Byron and Brad Keselowski. Whichever one of those 2 is going to advance to that next level, the orange block there. So then underneath that, what's the next numbers? I got to go back to my chart.
17.
All right. So go back to my point, 16 and 17. And these are the tough matchups. You know, the top versus the bottom, that one should be a gimme, but not guaranteed. Here, 16 versus 17 would be Ryan Preece versus Carson Hocevar. Now, we're pulling for the Michigan native of Hocevar. So go up top. If you had William Byron advance, he'd go into that orange block. Hocevar beats Ryan Preece. That next block is now William Byron versus Carson Hocevar. The other 2 are eliminated. And they're going to come from every corner. Now, that was 1 versus 32. If you go to the top right corner, that's 2 versus 31. The bottom left, I believe, should be 3 versus 30 or 29. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. It was the right side.
On the left, it's 3 versus 30.
There you go.
On the right, it's 4 versus 29.
So to start on this first round, it is the top versus the bottom, second from the top to the second on the bottom till the middle. And that's what I said. If you've done the NCAA bracket, the first round, top versus bottom, generally an easy one. And again, this is a little bit different because it's not that you're only racing that driver. You're still out there in a field of 36 or up to 40. So it's going to be really interesting. And just go back to that initial example. Right now we're saying Brad Keselowski. I don't think he's going to stay as a number 32 seed, but based off points right now, that is where it would be. It is possible if William Byron gets in an accident or blows a motor or something, not that I want to see that happen, but it happens. And Brad Keselowski only finishes 20th. He would still advance in this tournament because he beat that 1 driver. So it really is wide open. And just thinking about filling this bracket out, because I'm gonna, it's gonna be tough. And especially starting with a track like Echo Park Speedway. I'm trying to use that name now. In Atlanta, it being a
super speedway type
super
track.
speedway style. There we go. I was trying to think how to say that we know anything can happen. So some of these drivers that may seem lower ranked in an automatic out for the top seed, it might not be. So, I mean, it could be a free-for-all mix-up right from the get-go. I am so excited about it, Sharon.
Now, these two races here, the NASCAR Chicago Street Race and Sonoma Raceway, those are road courses. So that puts a little bit different twist into this as well. Dover is one of those unique tracks that we talked about, as is Indianapolis. So it's really kind of interesting how this is put together here. Another thing that I want to point out is that we will not know the exact seating. What we just gave you are examples of how it stands as of this moment. After Pocono, that 1 through 32 seating is going to look entirely different, possibly. So these names could be entirely different names. So we'll see how that plays out. But this column, this whole column here is your first round challenge, or your first round. Okay. This becomes your second round, this column. This column is your third round, and this column is your fourth round. And then the championship round is right here, where it's down to just 2 drivers. So I love the way they've set this up. I think it's going to make it really exciting and challenging. I think they've really named this very well, the in-season challenge, because it's a chance for somebody who might not be your number 1 seed, your regular season champion, or even the champion after the race at Phoenix. This is an entirely different champion that we're going to see, that is just these 5 races, and you've got 32 drivers that are eligible.
You know, and if you can leave that up for a minute and I'll try and guide you to what I'm going to try and point at here. First off, I want to point out this 5-race deal over TNT. It's over the TNT 5 races. That's the only 5 races they get for the year, and they are absolutely making the most of it with this in-season challenge. So big shout out to them for being willing to do this as part of it. Theoretically, and again, I'm just going to use the current point standings. I hate to do that because, again, I know when we talked about it on Hot Topics, we were talking about why not just do the top 32 in points versus the seeding they're doing. I think it is important. The more I thought about it, as we go through these next 3 races and they determine the seeding, that's going to tell you who's running good right now to set up for this. So I think that it was a good call by them. I didn't fully understand it to begin with, but I see their logic in it. Statistically and theoretically, talked about the top left, top right, the 1, 2, 3, 4. Those being the top 4 going into that race or into the tournament, if statistically they continue that way, they should be the 4 to meet at Dover, and then 1 versus 2. Again, if you just go statistically and based on their ranking, their seeding, it should be number 1
right here.
Yeah, right there. You should get 1, 2, 3, 4, because the top 4 have the ability to all the way advance to the final 4. Then you'd go 1 versus 2. In the NCAA, they actually break it down into 4 divisions. And so theoretically, you'd get 4 number 1 seeds in the final 4. Again, does that happen? Very, very rarely. In racing, I think it's even less likely. So I can't wait to even be able to talk about it after the first set race at Michigan here. We'll know at least one of the top 3. We won't know all 4 because the 4th one will just be the highest finishing average. They won't have a win. If we get 3 different winners over Michigan, Mexico City, and Pocono, those will be your top 3 in some order. So yeah, it could be really interesting in just how this bracket sets up. Sharon,
and
the more I think about
seeding again is among these 32 drivers, and we won't know what that final seeding is until we finish the race at Pocono Raceway.
When we talked about it on Hot Topics, Chris, said it was kind of confusing. But the more I think about it, like I said, I really think the seeding thing is a great thing. Like I said, you won recently. That puts you as a top seed. Of William Byron just since he's the points leader and we've been using him, yeah, he's been running good, but has he been the top seed? Maybe not, because his win came all the way back at Daytona. He hasn't won since. So
Yep.
I do. The more I think about this and we've talked about it, I do like this seating. I understand it's a little confusing, a little complex maybe to try and follow, especially this first year. I hope that we see this again in years to come. The first year fans going to get accustomed to it if you're not already, again, with the NCAA bracket. Again, had to modify it a little bit. Racing's a little bit different, but I am so thrilled for it, Sharon.
I am excited about this too. Again, just to put this in perspective, in case you're not familiar with the NCAA bracket type thing, this column is more or less that first race at Echo Park Raceway, Echo Park Speedway, I should say. And so this column is that race on both sides of this bracket. The next column is the race, the Chicago Street Race. That's going to determine who advances to Sonoma. This is Sonoma. So that's another road course. So this is the Sonoma column, the Chicagoland Street Race, the Sonoma column, and this is what? The Dover?
Dover. Yep.
No. Okay, there's your Dover column right here.
Yep.
So that's where it pairs down again. And then here is your column for
head to head at Indianapolis for $1 million.
At Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Exactly right. And I think Indianapolis was a great choice too. It's one of the crown jewels within NASCAR. So to have that champion determined at a crown jewel event of Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I think is fantastic.
You know, and this is one, I think it is an opportunity for maybe some teams that aren't having the most stellar top front winning races of battle. And I'll just use, say, like Bubba Wallace, Chase Elliott, we've been talking about him, of running very solid and consistently in the top 10, but not getting a win in the wins column in the playoff hunt yet. That'll still come without a doubt. But it'll put kind of a highlight on that. And I know, Sharon, you talked about it when we were doing our race picks. It gives you something else to watch and keep focus on. You're going to be looking at 16 different matchups. You know, if you look at that first one, okay, where's William Byron running versus Greg Keselowski? Where's Kyle Larson running versus whoever the second from the bottom up was, Noah Gragson? Oh, man, Gragson coming from, yeah. Anyway. So, yeah, you're going to kind of want to keep an eye on these different matchups and finding where each driver is in the running order and who's got that advantage. And then even already looking ahead, I'm in my mind visioning it. Okay, if they win this week or beat this driver this week, who are they possibly going to match up? Oh, you got this guy versus this guy. That's who they're going to have to face, one of those. I like it. And then you get into, Sharon, you pointed out, it being the Chicago Street Course and Sonoma. Oh, which one of those is a better road course driver or done well at Chicago and Sonoma? Man, I'm getting more and more excited the more we talk about it.
This is really exciting. Now we know who the 32 drivers are going to be. Somebody might fall lower than 32 in the point standings, but that doesn't matter at this point. These are your 32 drivers that are going to be included in this seating. So Brad Keselowski is number 32, Noah Gragson, 31, Ty Dillon. Moving up the list, Justin Haley, Daniel Suarez, Ty Gibbs, Austin Dillon, Zane Smith, Eric Jones, Todd Gilliland, John Hunter Nemechek, and Michael McDowell are all 21 to 32. Now the drivers from 20th to 10th or to 11th, let's just say, those drivers are Josh Berry, AJ Allmendinger, Ricky Stenhouse, Carson Hocevar, Ryan Preece, Kyle Busch, Chris Buescher, Austin Cindric, Alex Bowman, and Chase Briscoe. The top 10 drivers right now are Bubba Wallace, Ross Chastain, Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, Tyler Reddick, Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell, Kyle Larson, and William Byron. So I am super excited about this because I think we're going to see. Go ahead.
No, I had to get back on camera so you can see my face, how excited I am. I was just a lot of thoughts running through my brain, but I wanted the fans to see the smile on my face. Thinking about this and again, during our hot topics, we may disagree. I now actually do agree, though, that this seating, while maybe a little confusing and tough to follow, is very important. It's kind of like qualifying. If you can get on the pole, it just gives you that much more of an advantage, especially, and I'm going to use a driver, say, like Noah Gragson, since I highlighted him there. If he can do good in these first 3 races, get a top seed, and advance into that second round, he is a road course driver. So Chicago and Sonoma kind of play into his favor. Same with a driver like Ty Gibbs. So if they can get in these next 3 races a top seeding, get through Michigan by beating that one driver, and hit into the road courses, all of a sudden you're talking about them being in that final 4. Man, this could go so many ways. It's unbelievable.
Drivers that have been on an upward trend, who's to say that trend ends and all of a sudden what they were doing well in the first half of the season, someone else has picked up the mantle and now they're riding high and carrying that momentum. So you just never know. That's the beauty of this program, is there are a lot of unknowns here, but Jay and I are going to be here to keep you on track with where everybody sits on this bracket.
I'll tell you what, and I know at this point it'd be such an outlandish thing to try and take a pick overall, but I will say this. William Byron, I mentioned, obviously having a very consistent season, only the 1 win at Daytona, but is still gaining points in the points lead because he's been that consistent. Chase Elliott, Bubba Wallace, again, he has been having just a solid season, running top 10, occasionally getting around the top 5 and looking for a win. I think that's where this in-season challenge thing is going to highlight some of these drivers of, hey, they may not be winning races, but they are doing very good, and it's showing by them advancing through this tournament.
Yes.
So I am so excited about this.
I think we're going to have some surprises along the way, Jay.
Now, I will give you an example of somebody had pointed out, and you highlighted it as well. This doesn't affect the regular season championship and the NASCAR championship. Skip over Michigan, the second race being...
Second race is Mexico City.
If Shane Van Gisbergen, who is not in this in-season challenge, wins at Mexico, he is into the playoffs as far as NASCAR, the championship. Yes. He cannot be a part of this challenge, and that's a bummer, especially if he were to get that win and all. But again, he would still advance in the playoffs. Once this in-season challenge is done, they're going to go back and be like, hey, we got a new playoff grid because Shane Van Gisbergen got this win, or whoever. So don't think that their season is over. This is just an additional side bracket.
Exactly. And what's interesting about this is Shane Van Gisbergen could actually win the Chicago Street Race or at Sonoma, but he's not going to be part of the in-season challenge. So that could feasibly happen.
And that's right. And there again, you don't have to necessarily win the race. All you got to do is be better than the driver you're paired up against for that week.
Exactly. And just like in football, just like in the NCAA, sometimes the number 1 seed does not advance. So, and that could be the case in this situation. Jay brought up a couple of examples. He blows an engine, loses a tire, and wrecks his car.
Once they set do the full seeding and set those top 4, realistically, the odds of number 1 going through these 5 races, because again, you basically can't have a bad race.
No,
you got to have 5 weeks of, depending on who you're matched up with. The first week again, and I hate to pick on anybody, but just looking at it, of the ones that barely got in, in the first week, if you're matched up against Justin Haley or Ty Dillon as one of the two bottom seeds, I'm not downing on them, but you could have a bad week and maybe still finish in front of them. Okay.
Yeah.
As you get further along and deeper into it, you basically have to have, for this $1 million, you got to have 5 straight weeks of very solid finishes in my mind.
Yes, yes. And that is not as easy to do as it sounds for any of those drivers. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I think they should call this the wild card in-season challenge, because just about anything can and probably will happen.
It really does. Just thinking in my mind of any of the drivers, and I'll take the top 4 in points if you were to go that route. William Byron, Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin. How many DNFs have we seen Denny Hamlin have this year? How many off races have we seen Kyle Larson? Although he's winning every other week or whatever, how many off races have we seen him have? So like I said, if those were your top 4, there's 2 that we've seen have issues within a 5-week stretch. Again, I see
nothing to say that the other 2 drivers couldn't have an off week.
Absolutely not. But that's why I said William Byron I would have to say has been one of the most consistent throughout the year.
Yes,
Chase Elliott in 5th because he's the top driver without a win, but is 5th in points. That tells you he's been very solid and consistent. So, man, I'd like to throw Ryan Blaney in there, but again, he's had his DNFs.
Yeah,
those are the drivers we really haven't seen.
Points so that people can see this.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's right. You did have that one up as well. And again, that's just going by points as they are now, which is an indication of. And I'll use the example of why I think this seeding is so important. Brad Keselowski, as of recent, has been running much better than where he had to start the season and got him in this points position he's in. Now, and here's a big thing. You talk about that. And I'm going to use Brad as my example. Okay. If he were to, say, win at Michigan or in one of these
road courses,
not only does that set him up in this in-season challenge, but again, that does put him into the playoffs when we come out of it and this is over. So that'd be a double bonus for them when it comes to that. I really think you're going to see. Everybody's looking at their top drivers, and they're all use Kyle Larson or William Byron of HMS. But just knowing that they've had their off weeks more often than not, too, I think we're going to see somebody come out of this that just fans aren't expecting.
I would 100% agree. I think it's going to be super exciting. And, suffice it to say right now, we think it's going to be super exciting. We're going to guide you along the way on how this is playing out. And I think it's going to be so much fun for everybody. So please do stay with us throughout this in-season challenge and the lead up into it, the next 3 races to determine the actual seeding as we start this all at Echo Park Speedway at Atlanta. So
you mentioned a wild card. I'm going to do it just for fun of right now. Obviously, this will change after this race at Michigan, but I'm just going to throw out 4. What I would say that have been the 4 most consistent. Well, maybe more than that. William Byron, Chase Elliott, Bubba Wallace, on and off. Ryan Preece. There's one that we just being solid of that. But then you got to factor in, like I said, the couple drivers that are starting to pick up momentum, Brad Keselowski being one of them. I think he's going to be seated more in the top 10 or top 15, 16 than in the bottom half. I really do, just based on how he's been running lately.
So we'll see. We'll see, Jay. I'm not even going to venture a guess because I think there's going to be surprises abounding as we continue these next 3 races. Because Mexico City, isn't that a road course Jay? I
Yes,
think that's
that
a
is
road
also
course.
that is a road course, and that's why I
So
used SVG possibly winning there and kind of. But
I
again,
think that was a good example.
the door is locked. You can't get in. So yeah.
Yes. So even though he might win one of those road course races, he's not going to be in the in-season challenge. He'll still be eligible for the playoffs, but not the in-season challenge. So I can't wait. It's going to be fun.
All right.
Amy?
Well, I guess we got to wait till Monday to even talk about what could possibly happen. Again, we'll have a little more information. One of the
Yes.
top 3 seeds going to be known, and more information and kind of a picture coming into clarity a little bit better, but not fully.
With each of the next 3 races, it'll be definitely in focus by the time we get to Pocono, and then the in-season challenge begins. Okay, but anything more you think we need to mention before we move on, Jay?
I don't know that I need to mention it, but I'm excited. This is awesome.
I think you've made that pretty clear.
You don't know what, and I know we said we'd get to it when it came to the TNT tournament and all. This actually has me more excited and fired up than any other part of the season so far. I think it really has. I am really excited to see how this plays out.
And you see how excited Jay is now. I know some of you are sitting out there saying, this doesn't make sense to me.
Calm down.
How can he be so excited over something that doesn't make sense? But trust me, you will find out why Jay is excited as this continues to progress. And I think it's going to be even more exciting as it progresses. So we'll keep you in tune with exactly what's happening. So don't worry about that. If it doesn't make sense right now, don't worry about any of that. Just follow us as we go through this in-season challenge. The next 3 races set it up. The next 5 races after that are the challenge, and it's going to be exciting. So watch for more, because we're going to keep you in the loop. So don't worry about that.
I've said this before. Whoever came with the idea for Throwback Weekend at Darlington, was the most high-rated genius ever. Whoever brought this, and I know Denny Hamlin's been pushing for it, and I'll give it to him if he wants that title. But man, I see this being a long-term future if they'll continue to do it. I don't know who's coming up with the $1 million, but
I think this is the test.
Like I said, the more I think about it, so pumped up about it. And I really do think it's going to highlight some drivers that maybe don't get highlighted and recognized throughout weekly racing because they're running just consistently mid-pack. But I think that may play. Again, the checkers or wreckers may not get it done in this style of a bracket.
Well, and the fact that it's only 5 races, there might be some intensity in those 5 races that we wouldn't anticipate normally. So I'm looking forward to it. Jay and I have completed all of our previews now. And so we are on to watching the races over the weekend. We will be back on Monday with all of the reviews and some updates as it relates to that in-season challenge and the setup. And then, of course, we'll have our Hot Topic Sound Off, where I suspect this will be one of the hot topics that we will be discussing, starting at 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central, and 7 o'clock Pacific time, as we discuss all the hottest topics from the weekend of racing. And Chris Crichton will be joining us for that conversation. And that is a live stream, Jay. What's exciting about that, and we've been trying to encourage fans all season long, is that you can participate in the conversation. We want to hear your thoughts as it stands right now, when it maybe is as clear as mud. What are your thoughts about the in-season challenge? And we'll continue to monitor that as we continue to go through the process here. So please, this is the time for you to be a part of our NASCAR Hot Topic Sound Off conversation as we go through this process. We'll look forward to talking to each and every one of you that want to participate, but you have to take that first step and be a part of the conversation in the live chat during our live stream.
Yeah, jump in on the excitement, or By all means, if you don't see what I see, tell me why. What could be done better, differently, what you like, don't like. Again, I listen to Sirius XM radio all day. I appreciate every fan's opinion. Of some of it I agree with, some of it I don't, but certainly respect it, and we want to hear from you.
Absolutely. We do appreciate you taking the time to watch. We hope that our excitement is a little contagious at least and get you excited for these upcoming races as well. And hopefully you'll keep coming back to hear more about it. So take care, Jay. Enjoy your race weekend. We've got a lot more invested in this weekend of racing at Michigan. And I look forward to talking to you on the other side of all of that.
Most certainly. Looking forward to it.
What are you going to be doing this weekend?
Oh, wow. Why you got, man, I was excited now. Let's see. Tomorrow, our church is having VBS, or Vacation Bible School. Be doing that in the morning and then heading down the road to Jackson Motor Speedway or Capital City Raceway. We're doing the double features. Had to make up some from a couple weeks ago with the weather. Hopefully the weather is nice this weekend and we can get that knocked out. So yeah, I'll be listening on Sirius XM probably for most of the races and then catch them when I get back home.
Well,
and you can follow me. I'm sorry. You can follow me on Facebook, Michael Hoosman, MoparMJ8 on Twitter and Instagram.
Absolutely. And for me, I'll probably be outside doing some yard work. There's also a series of yard sales around the area here that I might check out.
It is that time of year, isn't it?
Yes. But the priority for me this weekend are the Michigan races, starting with the ARCA Menard Series on Friday, the Truck Series on Saturday, and of course the Cup Series on Sunday. So I'll see you on the other side, Jay, on Monday.
I was going to say a quick story there, Sharon, of just so you know, in case you're one of those that might do it. My buddy and I, when I was in high school, goes way back, we went to a garage sale and we had a tape measure and we were poking around measuring things in the garage and they asked what we're doing. And we asked, isn't this the garage that's for sale?
Oh, no.
They didn't find it funny. We thought it was hilarious.
Oh, no.
So have fun and enjoy life.
That sounds like one of those teenager kind of things to do.
It was.
Oh, okay. Well,
have a good weekend.
Jay.
All right.
Okay. Take care, everybody.